what are you looking for out of the cut, right? And a 50 basis point cut is very clear that we want some stimulus in the economy. Now, there's two ways you can stimulate economy: monetary policy, which is what we're talking about today, and fiscal policy, which is government spending. Now, the government has not opened the checkbooks, and they're not throwing money about. You know, we're still cutting staff, services are getting cut, roading's getting cut, you know. So you're not going to get that fiscal stimulus from this government, not at the moment anyway. So actually a 50 basis point cut, they might be looking at that going, you know what, I don't think we might not overcook it because we don't have both sides of the stimulus going at the moment. Welcome to Checks and Balances, brought to you by Partners Life. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair. This is Matt Harris. And today, OCR predictions with people who usually get it wrong.
We're back in your life, and we're talking about what our boy Adrian Orr is going to be doing on Wednesday. Lads, interest rates. Do interest rates just control the world, do we reckon? Or?
Yeah, and Adrian Orr is definitely our boy.
Yeah. I mean, well, at the moment he is. He's gone early. Yeah, he's come to the party early. I mean,
we think about economies, we think about the share market, we think about businesses, we think about property. Everything's just tied towards.
Yeah, AJ and I every morning, the other mortgage director, crack open our computers and look at what the swap rates have done overnight. And if there is nothing, if you can think of something lamer than that, let me know.
Here's how I think it is. I think when interest rates are low and not much is happening with them, no one thinks about them, no one cares. And tell me 2 or 3 years ago, like when it was going like from like 3 to 2.75, whether you really cared too much.
Yeah,
I'm rich.
Yeah, I'm rich, baby. It's back.
Yeah,
oh, not yet, but now when we're talking about 0.25% drops, the whole nation's watching, the whole world's watching. The Fed dropped, obviously 50. Recently. The whole world knows what's happened. So I think that's how it is.
Yeah.
So we were very surprised at the last OCR announcement. Most thought we'd probably get a cut in November.
November, yeah.
And that was because of Adrian Orr being very much like, look, dogs, until inflation drops between 1% and 3%, is inflation between 1% and 3%, don't talk to me about it. We're not talking about it. It's not happening. And then obviously enough people got in his ear to be like, look, things aren't going well. We've got to do something.
I don't know if you've looked outside, mate.
Fine. Okay. I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. So we dropped it.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, lads, Wednesday, what is going to happen?
Yeah. So there's a ton of noise out there in the market at the moment around what people's predictions are. And, no one can predict the future, especially not us. However, we're going to give it a crack. Now, I'm pretty conservative with this. I think Adrian is going to take a really steady approach to what he's going to do and just go 25, 25, 25, 25, right? Now, the reason I think that is in the past, he has been accused of going too much too quickly in either direction, right?
Yep.
Like he dropped rates too low and then he spiked them too high. And you would hope that upon some self-reflection, maybe he's thought, maybe this time I'll just give us a nice, gentle landing. James is shaking his head. Matt probably doesn't agree. Go on, let me have it.
Nah, it wasn't that bit. It was that upon reflection.
Yeah.
I was like, I reckon there's any reflection.
I could just think of him in his office. Wife said tomatoes are really expensive this week.
Maybe overcooked it.
And he's going to ask that question all the time going, were you too slow?
Yeah.
And he's very like snarky.
I love it.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what Mike thinks.
I think 0.25.
Yep. What do you think, Matt?
Look, I am eternally bullish with everything and mostly wrong. So let's keep that up. I think we're getting 50 bips.
Nice.
And the reason I think that is twofold. I think that there's a growing school of thought in New Zealand and possibly worldwide. I don't know so much about that, although I've seen pretty similar narratives in newspapers when I was traveling recently. That it's been overcooked, just like monetary policy was overcooked at the beginning. I think the tightening's been overcooked, and it takes a good 12 to 18 months for cuts to trickle through to the economy. We're in, quarter 6 of recession?
Yep.
Which is,
so many quarters.
It's not very good look for an OECD country to be this far down the lack of growth road.
Yep.
So I think inside the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, probably the policy boffins are looking at it and they're going, we need some stimulus. What does it cuts do? And the other thing that gives me hope that it might happen is that the Fed did it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to say this, but it is true. New Zealand and most of the world, when America does something, the markets follow.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's probably pretty weak prediction point, but I think if there was going to be 50 bips on the back of something, that would be it.
He did it, so I'll do it.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things to consider there is actually, what are you looking for out of the cut, right? And a 50 basis point cut is very clear that we want some stimulus in the economy. Now, there's two ways you can stimulate economy: monetary policy, which is what we're talking about today, and fiscal policy, which is government spending. Now, the government has not opened the checkbooks and they're not throwing money about. You know, we're still cutting staff, services are getting cut, roading's getting cut, you know. So you're not going to get that fiscal stimulus from this government, not at the moment anyway. So actually, a 50 basis point cut, they might be looking at that going, you know what, I don't think we might not overcook it because we don't have both sides of the stimulus going at the moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
My other thing would be like, if you, like, I probably think 25 as well. And the reason for that is going, you look over the last 6 weeks and you go, what has happened over the last 6 weeks that would, you know, dictate a 50 bip opposed to 25, and going, okay, well, we haven't had a CPI number come out. I think we've had an updated unemployment number come out.
Sure.
I can't recall anything besides just the general misery, but that's been there for ages.
The Malay.
The misery.
that would, you know, why would, like, when you're thinking, Mike, of 25 versus 50, how do you make the difference between the two if you're Adrian Orr?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, I know we haven't had any of that data come out. It's not like they have no data, right? Like, they will be looking at data in the background. They will be looking at forecasts. They'll be looking at what people are doing overseas. And remember, this is not the first time we've done this, right? Like, we've been through these cycles before. It's not like we're rewriting the rule book here, which we were a little bit with the COVID stuff. So I would say, you know, slow and steady is probably what he's going to do. 25, 25, 25. I'm not sure he'll jump to the 50, although there are some good reasons for it. But I always bet against the Warriors, right? I always bet against the Warriors because I love the Warriors. I call it an emotional hedge. I bet against them because if they lose, I win money. If they win, my team won, right? So I'm betting 25, hoping for a 50.
Our very good friend David Ning does that in all sporting events. So as Israel Adesanya is fighting the Warriors, the All Blacks, he will always bet on the opposing team because in theory, either way he wins, right?
Yeah.
Either his team wins or he gets a financial outcome.
Like, I don't mind it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's chop this into an Instagram reel. Team Matt at 50 basis points versus Team James and Mike at 25 basis points for the OCR announcement. Who do you think is going to be right? Now let's move on to, we're talking about...
Before we move on though, can I just say, like, about my 50, I think I'm right, obviously, and I can't wait till Wednesday, so we're going to get to do a reel on this.
Can I just say this is coming from the man that in February thought the OCR would drop, but anyway, continue.
Yeah, like I said, I've got a history of being wrong, so maybe it's like roulette. I'll just get it right once.
Yeah, it's 50-50.
So, James, before we continue, I have got a special announcement.
Have you started sticking to your budget?
Absolutely not.
You finally made it as an after-hours DJ.
I wish. Mate, the thing is, we have got a brand new podcast partner, Partners Life.
You mean the award-winning insurance provider with over 300,000 Kiwis insured?
Yep, they're also a New Zealand operated company and they are passionate about increasing financial literacy amongst Kiwis.
Sounds like a great match. Where can I learn more about them?
Check out their website in our show notes below.
Really thought DJ Magic Mike was going to be a global sensation for a second.
For me, lots of my mortgages are fixed on 6-month rolling terms because I've been a bit bullish on drops for a while now. And so even if we got 50 bips, my next mortgage is rolling in March next year.
Yeah.
So whether it's 25, 50, I don't think it makes a huge difference for a lot of people because the majority of mortgages in New Zealand are fixed.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that they might as well just get on with it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Because the market stimulus, like the signal that it will give will be worth more than the actual benefit to the mortgage holder who has to wait till March next year.
The risk of overcooking it is less than you imagine because actually the lag on the benefits tangibly are quite some time, but the psychology will change.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, say they cut too aggressively and there was a rebound with inflation. Hypothetically, boy, would that suck.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
We
imagine doing
we
it
start
all again in the first quarter of next year.
Yeah. And then instead of hold on till 2025, hold on till 2027. Oh
yeah,
God.
no, I wouldn't.
Don't envy Adrian Orr because no matter what he does, he's going to be blamed.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on from Wednesday and maybe make some predictions on interest rates and house prices as well.
Yep.
So where do we think interest rates will be at the end of the year, and where do we think they'll be at the end of next year? Like a 1 year home loan
1 year
fixed rate.
fix. So probably 6% by the end of the year.
And where are they at the moment?
6.85?
Yeah, no, 6 months. There's a lot of margin in that 6 months. For
Yeah.
banks, they're between like 6.65 and 6.85 at the moment.
You
There's
get
margins in-
6.19 for 1 year at the moment, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can. You're getting down
I think I
there.
just got 6.1.
Yeah.
I locked one for a little bit of a gamble, 6.19. Just
So
the other
I
day.
think 6% will be your average 1 year rate at the end of the year. Yeah,
Okay.
Yep. I agree with that.
Cool. End of next year?
5.
Also agree with that.
Yeah.
5.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're returning to those more long-term averages.
Yep.
You know, like these aren't amazing. They look amazing now because we just come off the back of 7.
Yeah.
But you know, your long-term averages are around those mid to high 4s.
Yeah.
You know, maybe low 4s for the for a 1 year fixed
Yeah.
rate.
It will give people the opportunity to lock in 2-year rates,
Yep.
like 4.65 kind of thing,
Yeah.
which you know will be really attractive for people who've just come through this high interest rate environment. And you know, it's really interesting how New Zealand, we have very short terms on our rates. When, you know, Americans, for example, they pick a rate at the start and just stays
That's
there.
it. Yeah. And it's when you talk to them and they're like, "This is wild. What do
Yeah.
you mean you don't know what it's going to cost?"
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Imagine being in the States and having a 2% interest rate for 30 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
But I think there's this whole thing they can't move house or something.
Correct.
as well.
They've got rent.
Yeah.
There's lots of different,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
way the market works totally different.
Yeah.
But it does make you think about the control of the cost bit. And a lot of investors don't understand that, especially first time investors, that the rate's going to go up and down over the lifetime. And that's actually a big part of managing their investment.
Yeah.
I don't mean to get too technical, but so like say we've got 14 months until the end of next year. So say we're going over the next 12 months from the end of this year to the end of next year, going from 6% to 5%. That would, you know, mean and I know it's not just the OCR, but for OCR drops of 0.25,
Yeah.
that would mean there'd also be some periods where there'd be no movement.
Not necessarily. You can have the official cash rate dropping, and the banks aren't passing 100%
Because they're
of that
pricing in
through.
all the time.
because they're
I
greedy
think-
pigs. Yes.
Yeah, and
That's the other way of putting it.
and it's because like at the moment, if you see the price for money on a 6 month, usually a shorter term fix is cheaper than a long term fix because you have you know, more certainty and with the long term fix and all these sort of things. Like at the moment, we're in this really weird world where short term money is more expensive than long term money.
Yep.
That is not a normal environment to be in.
No.
And 6.75 on a 6 month fix, the margin for banks must be huge
Yep.
on that money. That is, I'm not going to call it price gouging. My lord, it's got to be close.
And look how long they took to pass on the 0.25 in the last drop. It took, what, a month?
Yeah.
So
We
they
should say that,
held their margin for a month?
Yeah. And you got to remember, like, they'll drop all the other rates, you know, and we're looking at
Yeah, they know the ones that are helpful, and it's that 6
18
months.
months. The 18
Yep.
month rate is very attractive at the moment because the banks know what the price of money is going to do in the future.
It's funny, we were talking to somebody yesterday and they were like, I'm going to fix for 18 months. And you and I were like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
make sure-
attractive, though. That 1 year
Yeah.
rate at 6.19.
Yeah, I don't mind the 1 year.
1 year, 18 months, quite different though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's quite different. Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure you're getting the right advice.
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, in this example, let's say you get $1 million mortgage, right? So you're at 7% at the moment. You're paying $70,000 in interest. End of next year, you're at 5%.
Yep.
You're saving $20,000 in interest a year, right? You've got all of that cash that hopefully you're putting towards your mortgage, paying down that debt fast. But we know what a lot of Kiwis will be doing. They'll be there.
Jet ski,
Easy.
baby.
Yeah, we're back.
Easing off.
See-do, here we go.
The Rolex store, there'll be a line around the corner.
It's feeling light. you know?
Yeah.
It's feeling light.
Yeah. Ravi will be driving Porsches on a Friday at his lunchtime,
Yeah.
test driving them.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's obvious going to be a huge impact in terms of stimulating the
Yep.
economy, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And probably a good time to talk about property price predictions because I think everyone rightly assumes that as interest rates go down, property prices go up. And I think that probably is an equation that works. But I did think a little bit about this before coming into the episode so that I could at least sound like I had a point of view.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. And I think that there's a big problem in New Zealand when we go through bigger than usual property cycles like we've just been through, where that kind of growth becomes the expectation moving forward. And we've had two big cycles, 2011 and now, 18 to 22. So I definitely think property prices are going to head up again, but I don't think we're going to see the types of returns we saw in the last cycle.
So
I'm going to disagree.
Ooh.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to go, instead of a kind of steady, flat growth, what I think is going to happen is everyone who's been hanging back from buying is going to jump in next year, and we're going to see a sharp kick and then some more normalized flat growth. I don't think the kick will be over 10%, but I think there will be a bit of a kick. It will normalize again. Because if you look at the long-term price trends, we went up and we've come under the long-term price trend a bit. So I think we're going to kick up a little bit and then some growth. Yeah.
I was noticing that in one of the webinars we were doing in terms of that slide where it's like a carrot top where it spikes so much and then it's dropped. And then you look at the long-term trend and you go, oh, we're actually a little bit under that long-term trend now. Okay. So you say...
I'm going to go, let's go double digits. I'll go 10% growth next year.
I don't think that's ridiculous. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but like if you go the long-term average is like maybe 6.5. 10's not a crazy number as a bounce back as well. And you got to remember, there is all this, like there are so many implications to this. There is so much pent up, people wanting to sell, upgrade their home. Another really interesting one, which whole different topic, retirement villages. You think about all the people, the boomers, who
was that a dig at me?
Wanted to, they wanted to sell their house, but they dropped in value. They want to move into a retirement home. There's a whole impact on all of these different industries off the back of it. I don't think 10% is a ridiculous number at all. Because the other piece you got to remember, we're not building any houses, and we've got more people in the country, right?
Yeah. And even a 10% only is half the recovery of the 20 we're down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I just don't think we're going to see the huge boom.
25%.
Annualized.
That would be horrible. That's actually a really bad thing to happen.
Yeah.
Great at the time.
Yeah.
But also, if you've gone down
hangover
20%, you only recover 10%. There will be people still who will be in negative equity for the whole next cycle.
Yeah. But they just have to
hang on.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. They are our predictions. We will see what happens on Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.
This podcast is going to be out of date quite quickly. The other one, just as a plug, we also have Jared Kerr lined up for later in the month with the CPI number that will come out. And that is obviously the big question mark. Will we fall below 3%? That will also have a big implication to the next OCR announcement. Matthew, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Michael, thank you very much
for joining us.
No, just thank you.
Cool. Cheers.
Thank you for who you
That's
are.
Lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah. Michael, thank you very much, as always, for being here. Much love to Partners Life for sponsoring this episode. Do we have any love for Adrian Orr? I don't know. Adrian Orr, you just keep going on, baby.
Definitely love Partners Life. Adrian Orr, I don't mind you.
Yeah, take
don't
you,
mind
I could leave you. But I tell you what you can do. You can subscribe to the channel. You can give us a like. You can review. And we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.